Imagine this. You wake up in a totally charming UK hotel, enjoy a full English breakfast with a small group of plant-obsessed travelers, and then spend the day wandering through jaw-dropping gardens. By evening, you're sipping wine, swapping stories, and still gazing out at some amazing views while your dinner, delectable, is being prepared. Does it sound like a dream? Well, Marianne and I just lived it. She lived it a little less because she was running it. Anyway, that's what we're talking about on today's Garden Mixer. It's the Cornwall, UK adventure.
We are about to do a debriefing.
My suitcase is literally sitting in front of me. It's empty. I started the laundry, but we just got back a couple of days ago. And I slept till 6 this morning. No drugs. Woohoo!
Oh, no, I'm still doing the 4:30. It's jet lag is real.
I think it helps when you're recovering from a cold. We'll go into that later.
Which is why, listeners, we are not having the mimosas we planned because we pretty much figured they would knock us out for the rest of the day. And also there was hardly even milk in my fridge, much less Prosecco. So
instead of getting more mellow as we go through this, we might get a little more hyper.
That's right. I am on my 4th coffee, I think, honestly.
What a fabulous trip. You worked so hard, you and Andrea, putting together this trip. And so, the name of this company that, Marianne does this podcast with me. She writes books. She writes for Garden Rant, but she is also
a little strung out.
She also has a travel business called Horticultural, not Horta, Horticultural. We'll have links in the show notes. You can get on this mailing list, which you would be kind of silly not to do. These trips are very special, just to know about what you could go on next year or what you might miss. But even just to have that schadenfreude of, is that the right word?
No, schadenfreude would be if you're watching everybody like sink in the boat on the way to Tresco Island. And then you go, hey, I didn't go. Look at all of them trying to swim their way to shore. That would be schadenfreude.
But we're really going to get into it. And before we do that, we have a few things from Clear Up Corner. Something about palms and ferns.
Yeah, on my end, I think overall, as usual, we were amazing. But I had this moment where I was talking about the scale on a Schefflera and that little white sort of spray that I said was scale. And it was, but it wasn't the mama scale, the adult female scale insect spraying. It was just white. It's, there's all different kinds of scale, all different colors of scale. Just happened to be a white species of scale with crawlers, the little crawlers that have literally crawled out from under her sheltering little scale body and then started their own adventure on my Schefflera. And they sort of branching out and it sort of looks like spray. But man, doing a little bit of research on this, because again, we're not entomologists.
No.
We're not even etymologists.
Don't even want to be.
We don't want to be. We know anything about words or bugs. I know a little bit about words. But getting into the nitty-gritty of scale insects is horrifying. I don't ever want to see some of the things I saw online ever again in close-up. And had I pulled out, this is a really good opportunity to do a plug for something that we will never, I'm sure, partner with, but the Brock Field Scope. Shall I just go get it? Here I go.
There she goes. I mean, she asked me, but the answer is off she spins on her wheels, on her desk chair, and she's reaching for
my little microscope. And I really want to put this into listeners' eyes and ears. This is a little field scope. It's by Brock. Do you see this little weird prism on the bottom of this scope? That collects light, and that means that you can use, and this thing is heavy. I mean, I could kill someone in the library with the Brock Field Scope, Colonel Mustard. And you could bring it anywhere, and it collects that light, and you can look through it. It's not hinky or difficult to use. And I bought it years ago when I was homeschooling my 2 kids. And we had lots of outdoor field science stuff. And it is just it's a magiscope. That's what it is. Brock Magiscope. But it's terrific for gardeners because you can look at pretty much anything under here, and it's like 10 times, 5 times. I think I can get up to 20 times on this. So anyway, I'm just putting it into people's. It's nice to have tools like this when you're a gardener. I'm going on a little bit about this, but
When you
you know.
be totally grossed out by what is scale, actually? Let's just have a look. Oh,
Oh, damn, I didn't wanna know that. Yeah, but any type of insects. I have this here in my office for that, for disease on leaves, for what the he is that a tick on me? Oh, yeah, it was. I mean, seriously, as you get older, this thing gets more and more valuable. So, Brock, Magiscope, they're not cheap, but I've had this thing for 20-something years. Unpaid partnership over, hashtag not an ad. Hashtag sponsor us. Okay, moving on. And the second thing was when I said the Home Depot ferns, the Rapsis, the Home Depot ferns, and then went, no, 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 no. I meant the Home Depot palms. So you got your Home Depot palms, not your Home Depot ferns.
and I tried to fix that, and I just couldn't do it. I try as I edit this. Oh, by the way, that was an interesting, sort of rabbit hole that I went down into the scale hole. So I need to get royalty-free photographs of things that I can use for our YouTube edition of this podcast without hurting anybody's feelings or bringing on a lawsuit. So as I go to try to find those photographs, I'm not exactly sure that what I'm looking at is the real thing. So then I go to look at photographs that I'm actually sure are the real thing to compare them to the free ones that I could possibly use. And when it was scale, I'm like, but that's not white, but that's what the internet says that scale looks like. Because I do not own one of these magiscopes. Is that what you said it was?
It's a Magiscope,
A
yes.
magiscope that Marianne
Yeah.
owns, and neither have I had the interest to, get down and dirty with the scale. I'm just like, "Oh, this plant is unhealthy. It will perish, and I will purchase a new one." That is how I go. And so it was interesting to understand what scale really looks like through photographs of, wow, oh, okay, that's not white, and that's what it really is. So on YouTube, you will see a good photograph of a scale that we won't get sued for according to ChatGPT.
That's good.
Moving on.
I'm sure there's lawyers working on that. There's black scale, rust scale, brown scale, white scale, orange scale. There's so many scales. And you tend to have your own flavor at your house. Anyway, can we stop talking about gross scale and move on to something much more exciting? I think that's it for our Clear Up Corner, besides the fact that if you are not a paid subscriber, you're missing out. You're missing out on the chat that's getting more and more sort of engaged by our One More Sip committed community who both ask and answer questions. You're missing out on those fun little 20-minute episodes. What are we doing today, Les? I'm trying to remember which one we're doing.
We're doing a good topic. It's very concentrated. It's garden paths, what they should be made of, how to make them, pros and cons of various. How do you walk between the beds?
Yeah, because I'm just about to kill myself taking out my turf paths. And why am I doing that? And am I naive? And the answer is no, I'm not. I know what I'm doing. I'm going in, man. It's happening. So we're going to talk about that and so many different fun topics: keeping bees, putting your tender plants away in dormant storage. So many topics, none of which are coming to my mind right now. But please join us. It's such a little investment. I feel like I'm an old time PBS pledge break announcer. I did actually do pledge breaks years and years and years ago. I really, truly did. 30 years ago, something, Riverside, California. And it's just tiny. It's like $4 a month. So come on, become a mixer. That's enough of that. Let's get into this. I'm loving you as my PR agent for horticultural, Les. You are good at it.
I mean, these are fabulous trips.
Hashtag not an ad.
No, and so, let's just lay it out there. If you wanna know more about these trips, then you're gonna get on Marianne's mailing list, and we will make very clear how to do that, and, but honestly, if you're just, like, impatient as you're listening to this, Google mariannewilburn.com, and she will come up, and there are links right there, yes?
Yeah, there are links there to get right on my mailing list. And then it'll ask you, do you want news of new trips, a new itinerary? And you can click that. So this particular trip, and actually, all trips are meant to showcase a specific region of the UK. And we haven't moved outside of the UK yet. We will in future trips, but right now we're concentrating on specific regions because I really don't like that if it's Tuesday, it's Belgium type of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't like that if it's Tuesday, it's the north of England, and if it's Sunday, it's the south of England. I want to be immersed in the things that make that particular region special, and we certainly saw a few of them, didn't we?
Yeah, no, there were some fabulous gardens. We're gonna tell you about it, not day by day, but I might because the day by day thing was really cool. I have always wanted to go to Cornwall. I've been fascinated with the fact that you can wear a T-shirt in England and feel sunshine on you. That is because I was sadly misinformed by watching Doc Martin. All 11 seasons of that, it turns out, were shot on one day, one lucky day in
Wow, that
Cornwall.
was a hell of a long day. Now, before we go any further, I feel like it is my duty to correct your pronunciation, as it always is. I have been schooled on this constantly from a friend of mine who lives in Cornwall. And to bring that second syllable down into the deep recesses of your throat so you hardly say it. You sort of mumble it out.
Just think of that game that you think that you're playing as you're tailgating, waiting for the football game to start, and you have those little bean bags and you play cornhole, and that's where you're going. But of course, I'm not from there, so I can say it how I want and get off
You
my
can
back.
say it however you want.
But I had always wanted to go. My husband dearly loves his golf, and there were many, many, many years when I did not play, and I thought, "Oh, I'll drop him off at some quaint little golf course," and this is how we travel in the UK, how we used to. Now I'm afflicted by the golf thing, but anyway, I drop him off. I go do my museum, my castle, my hike on the Cornish coast. I mean, I was very excited, and so when Marianne was planning this, I really wanted to do it, and then there's the bonus of understanding that it is so unique a climate that they can grow things that really you don't think should be grown in the land of Heathcliff and Catherine and, you know, frosts, hoarfrosts, and just being cold all the time, and some amazing things can grow there, even though you really can't wear that T-shirt.
No, maybe one day out of a month. Well, they're gifted by us with our Gulf Stream. We take all of that beautiful warm air and we throw it away across the Atlantic, and it just bathes that country. And truly, they should be constantly like in Viking land latitude, but they're
They're so far up there.
they are. They're up by Labrador, but instead they get that, and Cornwall is even more bathed, sticking out as they do into the west. There, that big old peninsula. This is the southwest of the UK. For those of you who have never been to this part of the world or haven't looked at a map of the UK, it is not a separate country. It is part of England. And the UK is made up of England, Wales, or Northern Ireland, and Scotland. And Cornwall is part of England. We were actually in how many counties, Leslie? This is the quiz of the day.
We were in Somerset, Devon, Cornwall, and then we came back through Somerset, but there was another one there too. Yeah? Did I get close?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
you were right. Hampshire. We were in
Hampshire.
Hampshire for a little bit. Yeah. I mean, we made a stop, and we were in a lot of counties, but we actually made a stop in Hampshire. But for the most part, our Somerset gardens, which were Tinchinhole and Hestercombe, both of those were just stops along our journey to get out from London and to get back because it's a bit of a slog to get out there, isn't it?
Yeah, Cornwall is not right next to London, so you fly into Heathrow and you've got a bit of traveling to do still. So Andrea and Marianne did a great job of breaking it up. On the way out, it was Hestercombe House and Gardens, which was a great one because you were in the sort of what is that? They call it the craftsman era, where Edwin Lutyens and Gertrude Jekyll did their magic on something that was quite old, I think. Tell us more about Hestercombe.
18th century Georgian house, not like the most beautiful house in the world. I mean, if somebody gave it to me, I would happily accept it, although I wouldn't want the bills to go with it, which is,
I would accept it only if staff came with it.
oh, yeah, always staff, always staff. But the garden itself that was designed in the early part of the 20th century was designed as a collaboration between Edwin Lutyens and Gertrude Jekyll, she as the garden designer, he as the landscape architect or architect. And I was really very delightfully not surprised by the garden because I knew that, it's got a very good name. It's a significant garden. I'd never been there before. And I was just delighted by the structure in that garden. It was a garden that I 100% walked in and thought, I could have fun here without
Yeah.
removing any of the structure or thinking, "Oh, I wish that they hadn't done that way or this wasn't in stone." Because those big aspects and big elements of a garden often you feel like, well, they're there. I need to keep them there. I had a couple walls here that I was sort of like, oh, why is that there? But it's a wall, so I have to keep it. Nothing
Yeah.
like that. It has to come beautifully, beautifully laid out. And I was just showing Michael some photos from that, going, please build me this. Yeah.
230-foot pergola that you could walk down, and it was just delightfully repetitive with the plantings, and you're looking out over this, very formal, very large,
Mhm.
parterre. And then there were some bits, going up into the countryside because it was many acres, I think, or, I don't know, 5, 10 acres, and paths going up by some planned lakes that they lost at one stage, and they sort of had to drill down and get them again. And a beautiful a rill coming down artfully through these lakes, and
Oh, I didn't get to see any of that.
but I did, and it was lovely. So anyway, stopping to get to Cornwall is a really good idea. And then when we got to where we were going, the most fabulous hotel of all was the first one, which I think you spoiled us, but we're not even gonna reveal, people who wanna know what this was, we're not even gonna reveal the name of this hotel.
We're just going to keep it for ourselves until the end of time. It was pretty special. And okay, you know what? I don't think I can do that. It's like
Well,
not revealing a recipe. It's like saying, haha, it was great, but you don't get the recipe.
okay, we'll probably say the name of this hotel, but let's just tease them and not say it for a while. Let's talk about it. It was built for a Scottish heiress who really missed Scotland. She was some sort of royalty, and she really missed Scotland. "Please build me Scotland right here." "Okay, let's just hire Humphrey Repton to build you."
Right. Oh, darling, yes.
Yes, he says, "Bring him here." And the house wasn't quite right, so they redid it, and so now, oh, yeah, and the horses and the stables are over here, and it was just so, it was like fairy tale. And when we got off that bus, and, unfortunately, good news, bad news, it's a nice small group of people, but big enough so you need a bus.
Yeah.
Every person who worked at that hotel made it so we didn't have to heave our suitcases up these really cute narrow staircases. And when I was walked into my fabulous room, I said to the man who, yeah, I didn't know that he was a waiter. I saw him later being a waiter. And I said, "Oh, I know you have so much to do. I don't want to keep you unless there's something special I need to know about the room." And he said, "Yes, madam, you need to know that this room was occupied by Queen Victoria and that this original hand painted wallpaper. And have you seen your view?" I'm like, "Oh, okay." "Thank you very much, sir."
You lucked out on the rooms, girl.
I
What the heck
totally,
was that all about? Do you know
I
I was up like we were like the little matchstick girls up in the attic. No, I'm kidding. It
I saw other people's rooms that were you couldn't call grand, and mine was a little bit grand, sorry, not sorry. And they were adorable. I would have been happy with any room. The stable room was beautiful.
Oh, they were all beautiful. Yeah. No, it's sort of fun to say that I stayed in the attic like the matchstick girl, because it was a lovely, lovely room and just beautifully decorated. And I knew that I was with my people when the PG Woodhouse was right by the bedside table, and I wasn't going to ever have any chance to read it, but it made me feel good knowing it was there. So,
Then before dinner, we get this tour from the head gardener, Ben Ruscombe King, and he just made it come alive. He was charming, he was patient, a small group, but a group that has to go up and down some paths, and he just made that place come alive. The water features, all that he had to do, the glass house that had been demolished because the people who established that, I don't know, probably over a century ago, did not count on the fact that the tree that they put in it would grow. And they had to.
Norfolk Pine, I believe. Yeah. I mean, we keep saying they, but it was the Duke of Bedford and his Scottish duchess who fancied herself a little bit a Maria of the Marie Antoinette persuasion with her little milkery and her little cheese making place. And
She traveled with cows. There are cows in Devon. This was so close to Cornwall that we could see across the river. That over there is Cornwall, but we were still in Devon for the night, for the 2 nights, and apparently she didn't think that the Devon cows were cute enough, so she brought her own every time she came.
not creamy enough, I think. It was wonderful to have that ability to wander the property before and after hours. That's always such a joy at any garden, even if you're staying at a friend's garden and you just sneak out, hope that their alarm system doesn't go off, and you go through the garden early in the morning. But that one particularly because it's a garden that Repton designed to bewitch the senses with the sounds of water and the sound of the trees. So you've got one water feature gently in one ear, a small rill or a channel or a tiny little waterfall, and then your other ear is catching something forward in the pathway a little bit further. And then all of these fantastic trees, champion, weeping beech, and sequoias, and just it was a tremendous garden and beautifully laid out and beautifully taken care of, beautiful rockeries, so much stone. Anyway, definitely one that I will never stay at again because now I've told everybody what it is and it will be booked up forever and ever and ever. But
We haven't named it.
oh, come on. I gave them Ben Ruscombe Smith. I gave them Humphrey Repton. I gave them the Duke of Bedford. Come on. It's the Hotel Ensley, and it is a joy. And I would not want to keep that information back anyway, because honestly, they were so wonderful there. The staff was
Oh,
so fabulous that they deserve every accolade and every guest that they ever get. But please give me a discount when I come back. Okay. And
but backing up because we don't want to go day by day, but maybe we do a
no.
little bit. I want to go back to the original question of why you wanted to go to lead a trip to Cornhole to play with the bean.
To cornhole. I think we should just call it cornhole for the rest of the trip. I'm
Well,
not going to do that because I am so disgusted by the word cornhole as applied to a game. I can't do it. It's never going to come
why?
out of my mouth. I think it's because of the old Beavis and Butthead stuff years and years ago. Do you remember like?
I never watched Beavis and Butthead, so obviously
Well, neither did I, but enough that they got the well because didn't they laugh about cornholio or cornhole or something? It's an ugly word.
it's a bean bag and you toss it into a little hole. There's nothing raunchy about it. It's
I
just a way to
think that it's also I think it's a euphemism for one's posterior, isn't it?
I had no idea. Clear up corner, we're coming.
Okay. One's posterior. Good God, I'm so repressed. Anyway, all right. So why did I choose this area of the world? Well, first off, I have good friends in this area of the world, and so every time I go down there, when I'm in the UK, I go down there, I see more and more gardens, and I think that they need to be shared with gardeners. And we tend to, as international travelers doing that big trip to the UK gardens, we go see the big five. That's an
Lion.
analogy. Yeah, the lion, the leopard, the elephant, the rhino, the water buffalo,
Yeah, that's
right?
it.
Like when you go to Africa. Now, I was actually curious what people would think those big five gardens are. So I asked my robot master,
Oh,
because yes, I've gotten a robot master since we've been on the air. And its name is Grok. It's a different kind of robot master than your robot master. It's a little edgier.
yeah, chat. They're so chatty. We chat.
Yes. Well, I'm just flirting with Grok right now. I have no skin in the game. I'm just playing a little bit with Grok and I asked Grok, what are the top 5 gardens in the UK? Curious, right? And what would you say he gave me? I say he, she, they, them. I have no
And,
idea.
yeah. I would say that on that list, there would have to be Sissinghurst,
Okay.
Great Dixter.
Mhm.
I might have to go Blenheim because of Capability Brown. Maybe Rousham,
You're just
and that's
naming all of the gardens from my last trip. Only one of which is on there, actually. In any case, according to our robot masters, which is they're really looking at visitor numbers, which I just find this fascinating. So I'm gonna derail the program right now. Those are in order: Kew Gardens, the Eden Project, Hidcote, Sissinghurst, and Stourhead. And I would disagree with a few of those, actually.
I don't know Stoneyhead, and I only know what you've told me about the Eden Project, doesn't make me wanna run over there.
Yeah, so well, that's not fair, is it? I mean, it is a novelty. It's a pretty interesting place, but it's not one that I feel like you have to. It was our plan B for our Tresco day, let's put it that way. That it would have been fun. You put it on your big 5 list. But we have completely lost track of the game here. I wanted people to get off of the beaten path of those gardens. What I think of as like big 5 of Great Dixter and Sissinghurst and Hidcote and Rousham and Kipsgate and all the ones that you can see in an easy day trip from London or, fair amount of time. And Cornwall is off that beaten path. You have to slog out to see it, but once you get down there, you're treated to some really incredible gardens that have their own unique flavor. There are the very traditional but exciting Cornish Valley gardens like Treba or like Glendurgan, which we didn't see because I didn't want to overwhelm you with like a lot of the same type of garden.
Thank you.
So we went to Treba. We saw a little bit of that at Helligan, that sort of valley, that jungle. Oh, that's right. You didn't salt in the wound. This is where we say, listeners, Leslie was, I don't know what she was up to, but she ended up getting herself a dread disease and had to. Were you making out with somebody at St. Michael's Mount or something, and they
No.
gave you something? No?
I came down cold, which you can still hear in my voice. And so I knew that if I wanted to not have terrible travel days getting out of Cornwall and coming home, and so I gave up the day with the Lost Gardens of Helligan and with that beautiful Len Hydrac. I did not even know what I missed because I was home using up an astonishing supply of toilet tissue to cauterize the nasal situation.
Well, I wanted people to see that, those kind of gardens, those valley gardens. I wanted them to see that classic Cornish estate garden, which is which is a landscape garden, like Trelisic. I wanted them to see the perched on the edge of a cliff gardens like St. Michael's Mount, but are still extraordinary and still grow things that we cannot. That I cannot grow. There's plenty of people who can grow those, in other areas of the country, but that I can't grow in my climate. And that's what counts. Let's be real here. Um, Oh, yeah, and I also wanted to give people a flavor of the Cornish culture, the seaside, the both the bucket and spade brigade and those beautiful craggy cliffs. So the Doc Martin and the Poldark, I guess you could, if you're looking at different series. And you're right, Doc Martin is lying to you. It is quite rainy. We cannot have flowers without rain. We cannot have ferns without rain. And we did experience some rain on this trip. We had a little bit of driving rain on our way out to St. Michael's Mount, at which time everybody went, Marianne wasn't just being silly about having over trousers, waterproof trousers to put over your jeans really quickly, because boy, that would be nice when I'm wearing jeans, that type of thing.
I read your directions. I'm like, "Yeah, I have golf rain pants." And I throw them in, and then I thought, "No, I'm just gonna live dangerously." And on the other day that I knew it would be rainy pretty steadily, I just didn't wear cotton blue jeans, which is a poor choice when it's going to be raining very steadily. I also was exposed to far more weather that day than, anybody should be because I decided to walk from the car park to St. Michael's Mount. By the way, if you're thinking, oh, these ladies are all screwed up, Mont Saint Michel is in France. Well, this is like the Mont Saint Michel of Cornwall. It is visible from the shore, but not accessible from the shore unless it's low tide. So you have to time your visit very carefully. And on the day that we went, even though the ocean was not at our ankles, the rain was. So it was good and slippery. Wear fine, good, grippy shoes. It's not, it's not an easy place to go. I think one of the most charming things about accessing that tiny little island where about 30 to 40 people live full time, including the gardener who gave us a talk. And let me just digress for a moment and say how very special this trip was because so many gardeners, head gardeners, were able to talk to us about the gardens that we were seeing.
Yeah.
Anyway, another charming aside about this place is that I've made my way over to the group. I separated from them for a moment for reasons that we may or may not discuss. They were
They were very earthy reasons. They involved sand dunes and
they involved sand
private
dunes.
places.
That the facilities available to me were not going to be the right thing. Not for me, not for anybody who might use them after.
Oh, I can't take you anywhere, Leslie. Can't take you
It was a
anywhere.
rich supper the night before. I thought I had done my anyway, um, I was
I
caught
mean,
out.
just to she actually experienced far more of the Cornish weather on far more
Oh,
parts of her
I
body
did.
than
I
the majority of us did.
I did.
We are so far off topic.
We are gathered with the head gardener, whose name Marianne will now supply if she can remember
Darren
it.
Little, who
Yeah.
was wonderful. And honest to goodness, I just wanted to get rid of you people and just sit there with him for the next 4 or 5 hours. Yeah, saying, "Okay, and tell me about this, and tell me and how do you do this?" And he was that was a great yeah, that was a great garden. I've never been to that garden. I've been to St. Michael's Mount. You do them separately on the tour. They very kindly gave us access after closing, and we had this wonderful private tour, and it was
It
exceptional.
was clinging to the side of a cliff. It's a garden that clung to the side of a cliff, sitting underneath a fairy tale castle. It was mind-blowing. It
It
was
it was
spectacular.
so beautifully manicured too, and we saw, in other gardens where if you don't do some of that deep browning, the editing that we talked about in previous episodes, it has a whole different look. This felt manicured. It just was absolutely stunning. Darren obviously loves his job, is passionate about his plants. They use rappelling gear to work on some areas of that garden.
Yes, if you can imagine, if you Google this place, St. Michael's Mount, you'll see these cliff walls, and so now all kinds of seeds come through the air, dropped by birds, whatever, and lots of things can grow there. I mean, it's not like concrete, nothing grows.
Yeah.
There are lots of cracks, and so they literally have to repel to get rid of, I don't know, weed trees and things that they don't want growing on those walls. It's just an amazing acrobatic gardening feat, and the plants are being acrobatic too because it's incredibly steep, and it's meant to be looked at from above because the family lives in the castle, and this is what I saw when we were gathering with the group to hear from Darren. My mind is wandering, and I see an elderly man with a cardigan, an adorable cardigan, and he's sort of
Little
yeah,
shopping bag.
and I thought, "Oh, he's run his errands, and he's had to run his errands at low tide, so he's clearly gone into town." And he continues his way up this very steep path, and he walks and walks, 5 minutes go by, and then Darren starts his talk, and he says, "Oh, and there's the Lord right now. There's his lordship. He's run into town for some errands. There's the
Going
Lord
in
with
his
his
little secret back
back door."
he still had to really skinny up those stairs for his own little back entrance there.
Yeah.
And that's so motivating, isn't it? Because I think one thing that we realize on this trip, or for, a lot of people, is what a walking culture the UK is.
Mhm.
And people stay very fit as a result of it quite, late into life. They don't have a lot of the American habits that we tend to have, and our cars everywhere. And certainly when we lived in the UK and we lived in London and we had a car, we never used it except for the weekends, and not every weekend. It would be a weekend to get if we wanted to get out of London. Otherwise, you walk everywhere. You walk to the grocery store, you walk to up to church, you walk to the heath, you walk. and it's wonderful.
And speaking of walking, these paths to get to these gardens on St. Michael's Mount, that was probably the hardest, the trickiest. "Oh, where will I put my foot now?" And I think there's
Mhm.
something to hold on to, but there might not be, and so people shared walking sticks and all that sort of thing. These trips are physically demanding. You have to walk. I generally do 15 to 20 myself in my regular day, but we did 12 to 15,000 steps, every day, and that might
Yeah,
be unusual for some people, I don't know.
it's not a hiking trip per se, it's not like we're botanizing in the Andes, but it is more of an active trip. It's,
Yeah.
we're not just going to sit there and sip tea and look out over vistas the whole time. We are moving, yeah. And we're moving with sometimes rain in our face as we were that day, but it was a beautiful garden, and I strongly urge you, next year, if you are in the UK and you're heading to the Southwest, to put it on your list. And there are other gardens that are that same type of cliff style gardening, like, Minack Theatre, which you can walk through the gardens, or Cherno. It's a very specific style of gardening. It's using a lot of succulents, a lot of interesting design, working with walls and terracing, and yes. Anyway, I wanted people to see that. We saw it. I wanted to stay for the rest of the day, but we had to go. The sun started to come out, and we were on our way to St. Ives, I believe, and Carbis Bay.
Just before we leave St. Michael's Mount, one of the coolest things that they built there, it's just a particular feature. Picture helichrysum, which is that cute little gray-green thing that some people have use as a spiller coming out of a container. And they use that, first of all, as a perennial because that's how mild that climate is. And they created sort of a 20-foot long set of waves that I could later look down on when we climbed up to view the castle, which you can walk through. You can look over a wall and see, oh, yes, that looks like the sort of gray-green waves of the water that you're looking out over. It was very, very creative, very beautiful.
It was very cool. I was just trying to look up what is the common name for helichrysum. It is everlasting, immortelle, strawflower. Interesting.
I bet people say Kelly Chrysler.
They very well might. I just wanted to be working in both languages there for our listeners.
I know we're not going day by day, but sorry, we gotta, because the next day is the big day out, the big lottery play. Is this gonna work? Because
Yeah, we played the lotto, didn't we?
Bear and Andrea planned a day that they probably will never plan again because they got so lucky. They got
We did. We went to Tresco Abbey Gardens on Tresco Island in the Isles of Scilly. That is a planes, trains, and automobiles type of day, except for it's what is it? It's
coats,
planes, coach, boat,
lots of walking.
and lots of walking. And wow, what a banner day that was. It really was. The sun had actually started to come out as we were leaving St. Michael's Mount, and we got to, and St. Ives was a brilliant day. We stayed up in Carbis Bay, at the Carbis Bay Hotel, which was lovely, looking out on Carbis Bay there, and the beautiful fishing village of St. Ives, and the Southwest Coastal Path taking us down there. That weather held for us, and that was just fantastic. So we took a little tiny puddle jumper, over to St. Mary's, and then from St. Mary's to Tresco Island, by boat, and that took about 20 minutes. And then we had 3 hours, 4 hours, something like that, to explore that glorious space. I don't even have words. I was trying to show Michael some of the photos of just every time you looked up and looked around, there was yet another vista view that was stunning. And it really was. It was a bucket list item for me. It was a garden I'd never been to before. It was I've never been to the Isles of Scilly before. I basically just planned this trip around wanting to go to the Isles of Scilly, and you all came along. That's what it was. In the past, I have tried to do it, but been scuppered by high winds. Like the day that I could do it, and I hadn't booked ahead, but I was just going to, get myself one person on a plane and go. But high winds couldn't do it. And even the day after we were at Tresco, there were very, very high winds. the weather got progressively worse. So we were really lucky. It was a beautiful day, and I think everybody enjoyed it in different ways, like not just the garden, but walking around the island. You and I had a fantastic gin and tonic sitting there on the top. Where were we? We just walked on the Death March,
Yeah.
on a Leslie Marianne Death March, and
Yeah, we went fast. What was the name of the town?
New Grimsby.
New Grimsby is where we went,
Yeah.
and Old Grimsby is where some people took the ferry home.
Mhm.
We were just enchanted. I was totally enchanted by the archipelago, in total, because as you hopped up into this plane and then you're coming back down, and I don't think we ever got more than, well, I don't know, 1,000 feet. The plane did not go
Oh.
very high. And then you're coming back down, and the water, which is beautiful in Cornwall, you have these blues and greens. All of a sudden, you're like, "Wait a minute, is this Bermuda?" And then you step outside, and it's 55 degrees, and you're like, "No, this is not Bermuda." But the water is that color, and there are that many islands, and they're kind of wild and woolly looking, but there's some beautiful architecture that is based around tourism. Apparently, you don't live on the Scilly Islands unless you are employed for the Scilly Islands, and we met a fabulous bus driver who told us that's what he did. He drove poor people like us who actually, at this point, needed a ride to get to our boat, and he said that his wife runs a nursery, and they have 3 children that are running all around. There's really not a lot of crime. It's a school system where in primary school, you literally take a boat and live on a separate island. If you do not live on
And you
St.
board,
Mary's,
yeah.
you stay there all week long and see your parents on the weekend. And at age 16, you go to the mainland and you board there. So it's very unique culture.
He had 3 little boys, 3 what did he 3, 5, and 6, and he said it
Mhm.
was just a paradise for them to grow up. I can bet. I can't even imagine what a kind of childhood that is, so, for me, I grew up on Famous Five novels, Enid Blyton, and it was just like it was a Famous Five adventure. So, enough about Tresco, that's enough. We've inspired enough
Jealousy.
jealousy, I think.
In mind that getting to that island, you fly into St. Mary's, and then on the boat to get to Tresco itself, it's an open boat with probably 70 people packed knee to knee. In between every third person, there is a dog, well behaved, and we are sitting on top of the bins that are clearly labeled that those are where the life jackets are. So if you
It would have been a complete show if something had happened. You know, I shouldn't joke about it, but it was a beautiful banner day, and but, I mean, we're not actually talking about the garden, we're just talking about the island. The garden
The garden was
itself,
amazing, 20,000 different taxa, including some things that you just don't think can grow in the UK, some things from South Africa. What are the proteas?
Norfolk pines
Protea
everywhere,
Yeah,
proteas, different types of tillandsia. You're just out there. Zone tenors, I would say, zone 9B tenors,
mhm,
and, very beautifully arranged. There's the old Benedictine abbey that is still little bits of it are there, very artfully arranged, gorgeous views. It was an very interesting garden and definitely worth a visit. I'm glad we did it.
big day out. Hey, we missed 2 gardens that came more at the beginning.
We did. I can't even believe we went over our Devon gardens
Yeah,
because
so
they're
Wildside
serious.
the first day was the Wildside and the garden house, and both of those were amazing,
And Coteal.
and Coteal, which was beautiful. I think of that more of of the home, but no, the garden was fabulous going down to the river Tabor. I want you to tell the story of Wildside. Keith Wiley has designed this garden, and you saw it at a time when a big chunk of it was only in his mind's eye. And will you tell that story about looking at what you saw?
Yeah, Wildside. I remember speaking to a friend of mine about it. I think probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and she said to me, "Wildside is the most exciting new garden going on in the UK," and that's saying something, right? That's saying something, and you really have to go see it. And so I got in contact with Keith Wiley, who he and his wife Roz had started the garden 15 years before, I think. He very kindly walked me around this very interesting garden. It's a garden that was built on 4 acres of a orchard, flat 4 acres, and Wiley used earth moving equipment, JCBs, to go in. He'd rent them, and he would go in and he would sculpt the land to create the valleys and the gullies that he wanted, and the scree slopes and the north facing slopes and the south facing slopes. And because he wanted to create the correct habitat for a lot of the plants that he wanted to grow and wanted to grow well. And he had started gardening. He and his wife, Roz, had been at the garden house up the road, which was a very good garden that we saw on this trip as well. And to my shame, actually, I'd never seen before. I had just sort of, oh, yes, the garden house is up there, but I'm really here to see Wildside because I've seen it a few times now. It informed his work at Wildside. And so that was back in when I first saw it, I guess it was back in 2019. And his wife, Roz, was a painter as well as a gardener. And they were creating this garden in many ways to give her that inspiration for her paintings, which are quite beautiful, sort of an impressionistic, very naturalistic style. And I remember walking to the top of the new area that was called the Canyon at that point. And at that point, Keith Wiley had not had, I think, a knee replacement that he sorely needed. And he was really sort of pushing himself to get up there. And they didn't have a lot of help in this garden. I mean, almost none. No minions coming in all the time. And we stood up on the top of this canyon, and he told me all of his plans for it. And I thought, you're crazy. Like, I had been at my house for 6 years and was starting to feel the full weight of what it means to have a large property and to be trying to intensively garden it. And I looked at him and just thought, my gosh, he is so driven. And I think it wasn't too long after that that his wife Roz was diagnosed with cancer, and she passed away shortly thereafter, I think maybe within 6 months or something. And so everything shifted for him. He continued on, which is just incredible. And that garden, that canyon, became a tribute garden to her and to their marriage and to those years together working towards this dream. And they'd finally sort of made it. They were in Gardens Illustrated and all of these things. And it really shows that life can change in a second. It can
Yeah.
change in a second, and you really feel that at Wildside. But at the same time, it's also an extraordinary garden. It's plants put together in naturalistic ways, but innovative ways, and plants that you might never grow, that you've never seen before, and you instantly want to grow. There was a Roscoea there that I thought, I really want to grow that. I don't think I can, but I really want to. And one of the coolest things that has happened since I have been there last is that Keith has opened Roz's studio to the public, and all of these paintings inside the studio are on display. And that was really beautiful and extremely touching. You can buy cards that are made from her paintings, and it was just a tremendous garden. And it was certainly a favorite garden for several of the people on our tour who just felt a beautiful sense of peace there
Mhm.
and joy in the planting and the movement of the grasses, especially at this time of year.
There was a nice wind, so everything moved, and you just wanted to take videos instead of photographs. It
Yeah.
was very impressive.
This is a garden that it's reached a very high status in gardening circles, but it's not, Grok isn't gonna tell you this is the garden you've gotta go see. This
No.
is a garden that you need to go see, you should go see, and that you should take time to see. And you don't have to go to Cornwall to do it, but you could be looking at Devon Gardens, or you could drop down to see Wildside. If, say, you were going out to Taunton or you're going out to the West Country, you could, put a little extra time on your schedule and do Wildside and the Garden House, and many
Yes.
other gardens in that area too. And if you're just interested by it, I'll put this in the show notes, but there's a wonderful documentary by Annie Guilfoyle and Noel Kingsbury of Garden Masterclass fame, and you can rent that through Vimeo. And it's just beautifully done. I think many of our folks who maybe didn't watch it before they went probably are going to watch it now and understand the story, because they'll understand the story and the feeling of that garden so much more.
A really interesting story. And it was so cool to then go to the place where Roz and Keith Wiley had gardened before, called the Garden House. And this one was completely undersold. Marianne hadn't been there. We had a lovely talk from Nick Howarth, who was the head gardener, and he's sort of very humble about it. It's not much. Well, oh, you can see it in an hour. It's not much. Give yourself some credit. I thought that garden had the most prepositions, and you always want prepositions in a garden: under, through, around. There were so many garden rooms, and you went from one spot to another. Oh, but look at this, and oh, you can go up here, and then there's this house. But it was charming, and views and vistas and really good color, which is funny because some people don't think that September is going to be the great color month for gardens. And that's true. They have been muted. They have been toned down, although there's some fabulous annuals. This one, I think, had a heavy dose of not only Joe Pye weed, which hadn't gone over. It was one of the cultivars, which was quite purple right now, and a lot of Japanese anemone.
And dahlia. It was dahlia rich. In fact, I saw a dahlia that I normally wouldn't ever go for that I took the name of. It was that magenta.
The magenta one don't remember the name of it either.
It was almost as if the pink was coming through the bronze of the leaves.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a bronze leaf with this purpley pink flower. It was almost like the bronze was almost a purpley pink. It was striking. And I thought, I have no idea where that could go, but I think I want to grow it. I love those moments in a garden where you're surprised by a plant, or, in various stages. It doesn't have to be a flower.
Right. Yeah, that whole garden got me. It was, I don't know. I loved Wildside, but it was so different. It was a really good juxtaposition, and it was because it was undersold. You're like, no, actually, this is fabulous. And then so that was our three. Was that our only 3 garden day?
No, we started. Those were our 2 Devon gardens, and then we started our Cornish gardens with Coteal, which is a Tudor manor house, and it's very much about the house, and so many wonderful things in it. Tapestries up the yin yang. And then a lovely garden around it, formal garden. There are ponds. There's
the Dovecote.
There's a dovecot, yes, that goes down into the valley, and there's another type of valley garden that goes all the way down to the river. And then there's also a production garden in the back where they produce a huge amount of dried flowers for massive Christmas wreaths that go through the house at Christmas time. So that was our first real Cornish garden, and a really cool one as well. And of course, that day we had Ben Probert join us, and he was with us all day.
It's a huge bonus because this man is like an encyclopedia. Forget any app that you need. You just get Ben and say, Ben, what is that? And he will tell you, something interesting about it. The house was not to be overlooked. Apparently, Coteal is one of the best preserved Tudor medieval manors. So this is, 14th century. We're talking old. So if you, even if you had a rainy day, this would be a good house to crawl through. That was a fabulous day. Thank you, Ben, for joining us.
Thank you, Ben. What else?
Well, so now we have, on those last 2 days, one of which I couldn't attend with hotels, we're on this beautiful, we wake up in the morning, we're up at Carbis Bay, and then we come down to the bottom of Peninsula, and we're on not a spade and bucket beach, but we're on those cliff walks down at a hotel called Carleon, which I enjoyed through a haze of sinus problems. And I could see people out of my window. I just started drinking tea immediately, walking up and down this beautiful cliff walk. And I'm like, oh, I'll go there. And then I'm like, no, you're not. You're just going to stay here and try to get better. It was a very comfortable hotel, very well situated, and a very nice cabbie who took me to the chemist to get more drugs. But on that day, I did not miss, although I was in a bit of a fog, I did not miss Treba and Trelisic, and they were both great gardens. Treba is an historic garden, but it also had some more recent history because it was a garden that went down this ravine to a very small private beach that actually went out onto a bay that was so deep that they were able to launch LSTs, which is I'm not sure what that actually stands for, but I know I had an old friend who was in World War II, and he said, "Oh, that stands for large, slow target." And he went to
Seriously? Oh my God.
they were deployed to D-Day from that little bay. Isn't that cool?
That is a beautiful garden, and we got to see it at a time of year where the hydrangea valley is there something wrong?
No. I'm just so glad you brought up those hydrangeas. I had forgotten about them. 7-foot tall hydrangeas. You're walking underneath a tunnel of beautiful hydrangeas. It was extraordinary.
It was, and there you've got some that are in the first flush of youth, and you've got others that are antiquing, and no, there's no labels. It's just so Leslie Harris all through there. But so all these hydrangeas, I want to know what the hell they are, and I can't. Very frustrating. But I think this was my third time to Treba, and every time I go, I have a sense of sadness. I feel sad as I walk through the garden. It's an absolutely beautiful garden. And I've always put it down. The last 2 visits, I've put it down to I'm leaving Cornwall because I'm usually on my way out, and I'm heading back to London, and I'm sad to leave my friends and this place and go back to work and all of those things. And I've just put it down to that. But this time I wasn't doing that. I was actually heading back, further in, still had a lovely trip ahead of me. And I couldn't let go of that sense of I don't know, sadness, and I wonder if there's some level of I would always go back. It's an incredible garden. There's a melancholy there, I think. All of that beauty of the garden and these young men who were,
Oh,
you know, going through this garden to go to that embarkation point to head to D-Day and to storm those beaches. And there's just many layers of that. My father was 7 or 8 years old when American troops were marching through his village on their way to an embarkation point, and he remembers them throwing little sweets to the children here as they went through the village. And it's just it's a tragic point in history. It's also a very heroic time in history. And I don't even think about that as I walk into Treba. It's not like I just sit there looking at all of that history and then come in and obviously feel sad. It's just I feel like there's ghosts there somehow. There's anyway.
I can cheer everybody up. You ready?
Debbie Downer. Just wanted to bring us there. Thank you. That's my job on this podcast.
Here's how I'm going to cheer you up. I read on Wikipedia, Marianne was great and got us some information on all these gardens, but I was flitting around. And although this garden is, very old, the people who took over in 1981 bought it as a retirement project on their 64th birthday. I can relate. I'm 64. Let's just be here. I think it was a Georgian manor, and it had a beautiful, walk down to a private beach and some fabulous old trees. They didn't really understand what they were getting into. And then it was pointed out to them that, oh, actually, this is an important garden. And would you mind just taking 3 years of your retirement to help us get it back? And we're going to actually start trust and that sort of thing. And they said, oh, well, all right, here we go. Well, a quarter of a century later, they were still working on it. And the owner was quoted as saying, Treba has given us the happiest 24 years of our lives, and had we not taken up the challenge, we'd have been dead long ago from gin poisoning and boredom. See,
Yeah.
that's not sad. That's
Yeah, see, that's not sad at all. No, there's just evocation of memory in that garden. It's
yeah.
the past, the future, the present. It's a great garden, and it is very worth visiting. So put it on your list.
And this may or may not happen to you as you finish your visit to Treba. You are told by the person with the microphone sitting up by the driver on your
That
coach.
would be me.
That's Marianne. We're going to Trelisic. It's going to be a fabulous garden. If you haven't had a cream tea yet, you're in big trouble. So, okay, we go to Trelisic. It's a beautiful garden that I did not see much of because it was raining pretty hard. I was beginning to feel the full brunt of whatever bronchial invasion was happening to me. And it was a charming house with 2 cafes. So you had your choice and you had a homework assignment. Go have the cream tea. So off I go with my friends Marianne and Mary Bacon. And we were like, okay, we'll go do it. And we've been coached on, you have it with a scone, and you can either have a regular scone or a fruit scone, which means raisins. And then you have it with jam, and strawberries best. And then you can have it with the cream on first or the jam on first. And in Cornwall, apparently it's important to put the jam on first. As a United States citizen, I was going to try both. There are even, I wanted to know what was better, but there are bumper stickers. They feel so strongly. There are bumper stickers that say jam first. And I'm trying to get to the bottom of this before I get to the bottom of it. I'm saying to Marianne, well, what is it? Is it a yogurt? Do you put it in your tea? First of all, no, apparently you do not. Put it on the scone.
You put
That
it
was
on everything, baby. Put it on everything.
I said, well, is it like a yogurt? No. Is it like a butter? No. Is it like a cream cheese, sour cream? Name
Nope.
any dairy product. Poached egg. What are we talking about here? What is the, no, none of the above. Well, so you go and you get it and you sit down and you dig into it and it is just like butter. It feels just like butter.
No,
Maybe
it is not like butter. You cannot bring this argument onto the podcast.
oh, I'm going first. I've got the floor. Let me just warm to the topic. It
Oh my
is like
gosh.
butter, but it doesn't taste anywhere near as good as butter.
We just lost half our audience.
I did have my cream tea and it did disappoint.
So I'm just sort of shocked, disappointed in you, and wondering and seriously questioning our friendship as well. It is not a question of do you have a cream tea when you are in this part of the world, whether it's Devon or Cornwall. It's how many are you going to have? I don't know how to explain what clotted cream is, besides to say that it's, all of the cream, like good cream, is scalded and which is sort of almost boiled, scalded. And then it's left to sit and you scrape that beautiful, silky miracle into a pot and it's refrigerated and it forms a beautiful crust on the top. And it's not butter and it's not sour cream and it's not mascarpone and it's not all these silky things. Oh, are you actually falling asleep?
Yes.
Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the more cultured amongst you,
Did everybody who's thinking about going to Cornwall and doesn't understand what this tradition is, that you give it a go, but that you get smart. Like my friends split an order because they both realized at the same time that I did with my large single order sitting in front of me that it's not actually very good. And they felt better about just eating the scone and ditching the cream. Okay.
pearls before swine, just saying. Pearls before swine. You try
Which,
and drag people to a cultural event and they disappoint you.
what we've done. I would like to know a little gardens that
You didn't go to?
the Lost Gardens of Helligan and what was the other one? It was a manor house.
Len Hydrock. And you really did miss a good day that day because Helligan has a lot going on. Helligan is a garden that was rediscovered. It fell into disrepair after World War I because many of the gardeners left to go to the war. There were 16 under gardeners at that time, and only 9 returned, I think. It has a there. I know I'm just bringing it down again, Debbie Downer. Wah wah wah. But they really work on telling the gardener's story there, and they have many of the old greenhouses still operational. They have a beautiful, productive walled garden. They have wonderful woodland walks. They have done an absolute fabulous job of curating the jungle garden. I say they, this is a large team headed by Nicola Bradley, and she came and spoke to us. She was absolutely delightful, just obviously on fire for what she did. And you say, oh my gosh, Nicola, how do you do all this? Oh, it's my team. It's my team. Yeah, she was absolutely lovely. There were so many aspects to that garden and a really good kitchen, lunch, wonderful gift shop, just so many different aspects. It was rediscovered by Tim Smith, who is now, I think, Sir Tim Smith. Just like a secret garden, they're pulling back the vines and they're finding these structures. And it doesn't take long for a garden to go back to the earth. And they pulled it back out of the earth and have created a real masterpiece there. It's a very, very popular garden in Cornwall, and quite rightly so. I think it's definitely should be on a destination point if you're going down to Cornwall. The other garden we went to was Len Hydrock, and it's really not as much about the gardens. The gardens are very formal. It's about the house. 50 rooms that you get to wander through without a guide. They have curated it so beautifully and put little tiny notes throughout the house on a washcloth, on a clotted cream scalding pan, on a blind in a bedroom, just little quotes from the family. And so you get a real sense of the upstairs, downstairs life in an aristocratic home. And yeah, you
That's
missed
right.
out, girl. You missed
Missed
out.
it. So the next day we have to leave, sadly, we have to leave Cornwall, and we're on our way to Heathrow, and Marianne and Andrea planned something. By the way, I keep saying Marianne and Andrea, but you're doing the actual planning, right?
Yeah, the itinerary is mine, and then Andrea takes that itinerary and starts to pull it together and makes it happen. And
So Marianne has planned a really good day because 4 hours in a coach, no good. We stop a couple hours out at a cute little garden called Tipton Hall, and that's an arts and crafts sort of thing that was carefully gardened by a woman named Philip Reese. It's a 17th century manor house that you can only look at, but it was charming. Very small scale. Marianne said to us as we're getting off the bus, "You're getting right back on the bus, just walk through." And it was the perfect for that. You're like, "Oh yeah, pretty, good, stretch the legs." I was hungry, so I went in to find an apple tree and found one and ate an apple and then came back out to the garden.
you did some apple scrumping. You went scrumping for apples. I'll be damned.
Crumped because we were gonna have a very late lunch, which was also fabulous, if you're planning a trip. So this was, again, Somerset. We're in Somerset, yes?
At that point, we were in Yeovil, yeah, near Yeovil. Tinton Hall is just sort of off the A303, and then we went further into Hampshire. I think at that point, went through Wiltshire and into Hampshire. So we were at the Sun Inn, which was wonderful food and great service, and they were very, very close to Haddingley Valley Winery, where we got a chance to experience this new sensation of British sparkling wine, which when I used to live in the UK 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it was, it was a joke. It was sort of like Virginia wine was 20 years ago, and now not such a joke.
They served us up well. They gave us a beautiful tour, and the man was so enthusiastic, clearly excited about his product, and literally said, "This is new, and we're looking for friends." So
Yeah.
it was very cute.
Yeah.
Haddingley Valley wines. Keep an eye out for them. Ask for them at your local.
And you can actually get them in the US. The UK is changing. It's dry in a lot of those areas, and this is great for wine. A very, very dry summer in the UK this year. That is one of the things that we did not say at the beginning of this podcast. I think they're driest on record, and you could really see that, particularly in the east.
Speaking of dry, you have come home to a dry garden. And another thing that we forgot to say at the beginning of the show is that I haven't come home at all. I'm still sort of traveling. I forgot all my podcast equipment. So if the sound on this episode is a little different, that's why. How's your garden?
My garden is very dry, but it didn't bother me actually when I came back. And I think that it is as a direct result of being in the UK for the last 3 weeks and seeing how dry things are and seeing the state of gardens in certain areas and just feeling like this too shall pass. It's okay. And I spent yesterday probably about half of the day doing a little bit of manicuring of my succulent troughs, and my vegetable beds, which are very finite. This is one of the reasons that I love doing troughs and raised beds because it makes you feel at the end, those are done. Whereas if I just started weeding in the big serpentine bed or in the back perennial bed, I would feel like I really didn't get much done after killing myself.
Please, can we have a killing frost so that I can be done? Because I will never be done.
That's when you start begging for that sort of thing. And then I also worked up in the beds near the house, did those first actually, because a good friend of mine, very wise woman years ago said, weed and work on the paths that lead to your house, that lead to your front door, because those are your life paths. Those are the ones that you walk every single day. Those are the ones that either give you energy or take your energy. And so that's what I worked on yesterday. Keeping your eyes open and being curious and just remaining interested when you come back to your garden can really help you get over that hump of, oh my God, how long have I been gone? Can I get some gasoline and a match, please?
But what a fabulous trip. And we're not going to do a damn, I wish I had planted that today. But we talk about, damn, I wish I had done something differently on the trip. Before we do that, we have some things to take care of. You know where to find us on our socials, especially Substack if you want to become one of our One More Sip committed community. And today's topic on One More Sip is going to be about garden paths, which you just brought up. But we have lots of good pithy topics on that one. So go to the Garden Mixer on Substack to sign up for that. And then we have some new people in our community, correct?
We do. We have some newest paid mixers, and we want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to Amanda Hauser and Julia Thomas and Jonathan Bykowski, Marianne Burke, and who was just on our trip, actually. That's awesome. Heather Stryanacci, Kathy Blage, Jennifer Furran. Wow, that is a ton of you. Thank you for adding to this growing community. It's really very exciting. Leslie and I are thrilled.
Another place you can see us is on YouTube, and we're growing there. I am so excited to be able to edit this particular podcast and put in lots of our photographs that I don't have to ask, is this royalty free? Will I be sued if I use this? So it's going to be an editing nightmare, but I want to do it because it's actually a gift to ourselves and the people on this trip. I'll get photographs from a lot of people who were on this trip, not just Marianne and me, and we'll throw some fabulous photographs at you about what we just did. It'll be an extra special one on YouTube. So go have a look. And while you're there, subscribe to our channel.
So we have some listener comments and questions, and one of them was really interesting because I had talked about Ageratina, white snake root, on the episode about blooms for late summer pollinators, or at least late summer blooms for pollinators. And you had said, oh, yeah, I like that plant and I didn't think I grew it, but then I found some down in a waste area behind some bins or something. And that's how I found mine. And now I'm overrun by the stuff. But Heather Esty, who is growing in central New York, she sort of marked that down as something to think about. And then lo and behold, goes down to a barn that she has. And she's looking at this plant and going, I think that's Ageratina. And it is. And 5 days later, she was overrun with it. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, we've never seen her since.
It had eaten her farm. So keep an eye on it, Heather. Truly, it is a wonderful plant. And I was just watching the bumblebees frolicking on mine yesterday. But it really does want to take over. It wants to spread rhizomatously and stealthily, and it by seeds and all the things. So just keep an eye on it. Enjoy it, but be careful. And the other one was Lauren Edelton in Mechanicsville, Virginia, who said, I love having you two in my ears each week. It's like having two besties visit. And I thought that was so cool.
Aww.
She wanted some tips on agapanthus, and she was asking in the chat. And I thought, ooh, I don't know if I'm the best person to do that because I've always had this just irrational bias towards agapanthus that stems from living in Southern California for a while and just being sick to the bloody teeth with it, with that and Strelitzia. Bird of paradise, just everywhere you look, mound of Strelitzia, a mound of agapanthus. But I am starting to come to some level of like for it because of a lot of the Southern Living collection agapanthus, or agapanthi, would you say?
Maybe.
That are out there. And now I'm being pulled into the dark side a little bit with things like Ever Twilight. And there are some agapanthus that can handle our zones, certainly yours in Mechanicsville, because I'm 7A, 6B here, you're probably 7B, and they can definitely handle that. Go to Plant Delights, plantdelights.com, and you'll find a lot of their very hardy ones. I'm sure there are other ones, but I love the way that they talk about agapanthus and give you some down and dirty on it.
So as we wrap up, we don't have a damn I wish I planted that, but damn I wish I had. On this trip that we just got back from, I wish I had not gotten a head cold. Easy. I don't wish that I hadn't tried the cream tea sort of thing. I'm glad I tried it.
I wish I hadn't heard you hate it, I think, because I think less of you now. We can never go backwards, Les. We can never fix that in our relationship.
But what about you as the woman who ran the trip? Damn, I wish I...
Oh, I have a lot of damn I wish I'd done that. One of the things I wish I'd done is I had skinnied myself up to above Hestercombe to see that area of the garden that I didn't see. I was trying to help others to sort of appreciate what they were seeing in that very first garden and move their eyes around the garden. And I should have just left them and run up the hill. And the reason is because Hestercombe is now in receivership. It's having some financial difficulties, and it might not be open next season. And for seasons to come, we don't know. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed in that. I wish that I'd bought some Tresco gin after having that wonderful gin and tonic with you on the beach there at New Grimsby. And I also wish that I could have gotten rid of you all and sat with Darren Little at his feet, saying, "Oh, wise one, tell me more about how you plant this cliff." Even though I do not have my own cliff, I just want to know these weird, cool techniques of getting seeds down the hill with ice cubes. So
Yeah.
many fun things. Of course, I wish that I had had one more cream tea. There's always room for one more.
It was a fabulous, fabulous trip. I'm so glad to have had the opportunity to go. So thank you. Thank you, my friend, for planning such a wonderful thing.
You are welcome, and here's to more trips in the future, and always sort of tweaking and twitching and making them better and better. And it was a real joy. It was really fun to share that part of the world with everyone. So many beautiful parts of it. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great. All right, we will see you next time with a more gardeny and less travel-y edition of The Garden.
Until then.